You won't believe what happened when my boss fired me for job hunting after denying my raises for 3 straight years. She thought she was teaching me a lesson about loyalty, but what she didn't know was that I had already signed a contract with our biggest client's parent company for double my salary. And when that client found out what happened to me, well, let's just say Rebecca's about to learn a very expensive lesson about treating your best employees right. Stick around because this story gets so much better. This is completely unacceptable, Sarah. Rebecca Thompson's voice cut through the air like a blade as I sat across from her in her corner office at Pinnacle Financial Solutions. The morning Chicago skyline stretched behind her, but her cold stare made the entire 32nd floor feel arctic. After everything this company has invested in you, this is how you repay us? It was 8:30 a.m. on a Wednesday, and I'd been called into Rebecca's office with zero explanation. The knot in my stomach had been growing since her assistant Lisa had delivered the message 20 minutes earlier. Now, sitting in the leather chair across from Rebecca's imposing glass desk, I knew exactly why I was here. "I'm not sure what you're referring to," I said carefully, though my hands were trembling slightly as I gripped my coffee cup. Rebecca's perfectly manicured finger jabbed at a printed email sitting on her desk. "Don't play dumb with me, Sarah. I have confirmation that you interviewed with Summit Capital Group yesterday afternoon. You called in sick with a migraine, if I remember correctly." My heart sank. Someone had seen me, or maybe Summit had reached out as a reference check, and word had gotten back. Either way, my carefully planned discretion had crumbled. "Rebecca, I can explain." "There's nothing to explain," she interrupted, her voice sharp and final. "This is a betrayal of everything Pinnacle Financial stands for. Loyalty, Sarah. That's what builds careers in this industry." The irony was suffocating. Loyalty. After 5 years of 60-hour weeks, after bringing in millions in new business, after 3 consecutive years of being told my raise requests would be considered next quarter, while watching Rebecca drive to work in a brand new BMW. "Security will escort you to your desk to collect your personal items," Rebecca continued, sliding my keycard across the polished surface. "Your access has been revoked, and IT is already disabling your accounts." I stared at the keycard for a moment, letting the reality sink in. This was actually happening. After 5 years of dedicated service, I was being marched out like a criminal for the crime of knowing my worth. But here's what Rebecca didn't know, what she couldn't possibly know, and what made this moment both terrifying and absolutely perfect. Hidden in my purse, folded neatly in the inside pocket, was a signed offer letter from Summit Capital Group. Senior Portfolio Manager, $95,000 base salary plus bonuses. Nearly double what Pinnacle was paying me. I'd signed it yesterday evening and planned to give my notice on Friday. Rebecca had just saved me the trouble. I stood up slowly, straightening my blazer and meeting her gaze directly. "I understand," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I wish you and Pinnacle continued success." The confusion that flickered across Rebecca's face was priceless. She'd clearly expected tears, begging, maybe even anger. Instead, I extended my hand across her desk with complete professionalism. She hesitated before shaking it, her brow furrowed. "That's it." "That's it," I confirmed, picking up my purse and walking toward her office door. As I reached for the handle, Rebecca called after me. "Sarah, you're making a huge mistake. No one will want to hire someone who was terminated for disloyalty." I turned back with a smile I couldn't quite suppress. "We'll see about that, Rebecca." If only she knew what was coming next. My name is Sarah Davis. I'm 29 years old, and until about 15 minutes ago, I had dedicated 5 years of my professional life to Pinnacle Financial Solutions here in Chicago, Illinois. 5 years of early mornings, late nights, and weekend calls with demanding clients who needed their portfolios managed yesterday. The security guard, Marcus, someone I'd chatted with pleasantly every morning for half a decade, now stood awkwardly by my desk as I packed my belongings into a cardboard box he'd provided. The symbolism wasn't lost on me. 5 years of my career fitting into a single banker's box. "I'm really sorry about this, Sarah," Marcus mumbled, genuinely uncomfortable with his assignment. "It's not your fault," I assured him, carefully wrapping a framed photo of my family in tissue paper. "Just doing your job." Around me, the office had gone eerily quiet. My colleagues pretended to focus on their computer screens, but I could feel their eyes darting toward me every few seconds. Whispers would start the moment I left. They always did. I'd joined Pinnacle straight out of Northwestern University's business school, eager and ambitious with a finance degree that had cost me 6 figures in student loans. My starting position had been junior analyst, the bottom of the corporate ladder, running financial models and preparing presentation decks while senior advisors took all the credit. But I'd worked relentlessly. I stayed late to master every software platform, volunteered for the complex accounts that others avoided, and built genuine relationships with clients who appreciated someone who actually listened to their concerns rather than just pushing products. Within 18 months, I was managing mid-tier accounts independently. By year 3, I'd been promoted to portfolio manager and assigned to Midwest Manufacturing Corp., one of Pinnacle's largest clients, worth approximately 25% of our regional office's annual revenue. The Midwest manufacturing relationship had been rocky when I inherited it. Their previous advisor had been phoning it in, providing generic advice and missing critical opportunities in their investment strategy. Within my first quarter managing their account, I'd restructured their entire portfolio, saving them nearly $200,000 in unnecessary fees and positioning them for better returns. Their CFO, Michael Patterson, had been so impressed that he'd specifically requested me as their sole point of contact. "Finally, someone who treats our money like it matters," he'd told Rebecca during a review meeting. Rebecca had been thrilled then. "This is exactly the kind of initiative we value at Pinnacle," she'd announced at our quarterly team meeting, though somehow that valued initiative never translated into my compensation. My first raise request came after securing the Midwest manufacturing contract extension and bringing their investment allocation up by 40%. I'd prepared a detailed presentation showing my performance metrics, client retention rates, and industry salary comparisons. "The timing isn't great, Sarah," Rebecca had said with practiced sympathy. "We're restructuring some departments. Let's revisit this next quarter." Next quarter became next year. My second request, after I'd won a regional industry award for client portfolio performance, received the same response. "Budget constraints. You understand." I'd understood. All right. I understood that while Rebecca had budget constraints for my salary, the company had somehow found budget for a complete office renovation, including that glass waterfall feature in the lobby that cost more than my annual raise would have. The third denial, 6 months ago, had come right after I'd successfully brought in 2 major new corporate clients through referrals from Midwest Manufacturing. "Your work is exceptional, Sarah," Rebecca had said, "but with market uncertainty, we need to be conservative with compensation adjustments." That night, I'd updated my resume for the first time in 5 years. Not out of spite, but out of simple self-respect. I was worth more than empty promises and corporate doublespeak. As I placed the last of my desk plants into the cardboard box, a small succulent that had somehow survived 5 years of office fluorescent lighting, the full weight of those 5 years crashed over me. I thought back to that eager 24-year-old who'd walked through Pinnacle's doors on her first day, student loan debt hanging over her head like a storm cloud, but absolutely determined to prove herself in the competitive world of financial advising. Those first 2 years had been brutal. I'd worked 70-hour weeks regularly, studying market trends on my weekends, taking additional certification courses on my own dime. While my college friends were posting Instagram photos from weekend trips and happy hours, I was building financial models and cold calling potential clients. But it had paid off. Or so I thought. The Midwest manufacturing account had been my breakthrough. When I took it over in year 3, they were considering leaving Pinnacle entirely. Their previous advisor, a guy named Derek who'd been coasting on old relationships, had basically ignored them for months while he focused on higher-profile clients. I'd spent my first week reviewing every detail of their portfolio, identifying inefficiencies, and preparing a comprehensive restructuring proposal. Then I'd driven 3 hours to their headquarters in Rockford to present it in person, something Derek had never bothered to do. Michael Patterson, their CFO, had been skeptical at first. Another advisor promising the world, he'd said. But I'd delivered. Within 6 months, their portfolio performance had improved by 23%. I'd negotiated better fund allocations, eliminated redundant holdings, and established a quarterly review process that kept them informed and engaged. "You actually care about our business," Michael had told me during one of those reviews. "That's rare in this industry." The relationship had grown from there. Midwest Manufacturing extended their contract with Pinnacle for another 3 years and increased their assets under management with us by $4 million. Rebecca had literally called me into her office to congratulate me. "This is the kind of work that builds careers at Pinnacle," she'd said, beaming. That's when I'd made my first raise request. I'd prepared for weeks, gathering data on industry compensation standards, documenting my performance metrics, calculating the exact revenue I'd generated for the firm. I'd walked into that meeting confident that my work spoke for itself. "You're absolutely right to ask, Sarah," Rebecca had said, reviewing my presentation. "Your performance has been outstanding, but we're going through some departmental restructuring right now, and the timing is just off. Let's table this for next quarter when I'll have more flexibility." Next quarter came. "Still dealing with the restructuring fallout, Sarah." Soon. 6 months later, after I'd won the Midwest Regional Excellence in Financial Advising Award, an industry recognition that Pinnacle had proudly featured in their marketing materials, I'd tried again. "Sarah, you know I value your work," Rebecca had said. "But with the market volatility we're seeing, the partners have asked all management to hold on salary adjustments. It's nothing personal." Yet somehow, during that same market volatility, Pinnacle had hired 3 new junior advisors at starting salaries that I'd later learned were higher than what I was currently making after 5 years and a promotion. The final straw had come 6 months ago. I'd brought in 2 significant new clients, both corporate accounts worth over $2 million each, through direct referrals from Michael at Midwest Manufacturing. My book of business had grown to over $15 million in assets under management. I'd walked into Rebecca's office with another carefully prepared presentation. "Your numbers are impressive, Sarah." "They really are," she'd said, "but we're investing heavily in our technology infrastructure this year. Once that's complete, we can definitely revisit compensation." I'd walked out of that meeting and straight to my desk, where I'd opened LinkedIn and updated my profile for the first time in years. Enough was enough. That night, 6 months ago, I'd sat at my kitchen table in my small Lincoln Park apartment, staring at my updated resume on my laptop screen. The cursor blinked mockingly at me as I debated whether to actually start applying or just close the document and accept my fate at Pinnacle. My phone had buzzed with a text from Emma Johnson, my best friend since college. "Wine night tomorrow? You sound stressed lately." She wasn't wrong. The constant cycle of working myself to exhaustion while watching my value go unrecognized had been wearing on me for months. I'd started having Sunday night anxiety, that sick feeling in your stomach knowing another week of the same was coming. But actually leaving? That felt like admitting defeat somehow. Like I'd failed to make it work. Then I'd gotten an email notification. LinkedIn had suggested I might be interested in a senior portfolio manager position at Summit Capital Group. The salary range listed was $85,000 to $110,000. I was making $52,000. I'd stared at that number for a full minute, feeling something shift inside me. This wasn't about being greedy or disloyal. This was about being systematically undervalued while producing exceptional results. I'd clicked apply before I could talk myself out of it. The response had come within 2 days. Summit Capital wanted to schedule a phone interview, then a video interview, then an in-person meeting with their senior leadership team. Your track record with client retention is exactly what we're looking for, Jennifer Walsh, their CEO, had told me during that final interview yesterday. We've actually heard your name mentioned in industry circles. The work you did with Midwest Manufacturing has been noticed. That's when she'd slid the offer letter across the table. Senior Portfolio Manager, $95,000 base salary plus performance bonuses, full benefits, and a signing bonus of $10,000. I'd nearly cried right there in the conference room. I need to give proper notice at my current position, I'd said, trying to maintain professionalism despite the euphoria flooding through me. Of course, Jennifer had agreed. We respect that. Take the time you need. I'd gone home last night and signed that offer letter at my kitchen table, my hands shaking with a mixture of relief and vindication. 5 years of proving myself, and it had taken leaving to finally be valued appropriately. My plan had been simple. Give Rebecca my 2 weeks' notice on Friday, maintain complete professionalism, and transition out gracefully. I'd even planned to help train my replacement to ensure Midwest Manufacturing and my other clients would be well taken care of. But Rebecca had other plans. Now, walking out of Pinnacle's glass doors for the final time with Marcus the security guard escorting me like a criminal, that signed offer letter still tucked safely in my purse, I felt an unexpected sense of calm wash over me. The April sunshine was warm on my face as I loaded the cardboard box into my trunk. Other employees were arriving for work, some of them people I'd worked alongside for years. A few gave me sympathetic looks. Most pretended not to notice. My phone buzzed with a text from Emma. Tyler just texted me. Said you got fired? Calling you in 5 seconds? Word traveled fast. Tyler Brooks in IT was dating Emma's coworker and apparently had already spread the news. But as I slid into my car and closed the door, shutting out Pinnacle Financial Solutions, possibly forever, I realized something important. Rebecca thought she'd punished me. She thought she'd taught me a lesson about loyalty and corporate hierarchy. She had no idea what was actually coming. And honestly, I couldn't wait to see her face when she found out. My phone rang before I'd even pulled out of the parking garage. Emma's name flashed on the screen. What the hell happened? She demanded the second I answered, her voice a mixture of outrage and concern. Rebecca found out I interviewed with Summit Capital, I said, navigating through downtown Chicago traffic. Called me in this morning and fired me on the spot. Said it was a betrayal of company loyalty. That's insane, Emma practically shouted. You can interview wherever you want. There's no law against looking for other opportunities. Apparently at Pinnacle there is, I replied, surprised by how calm I sounded. She had security escort me out like I'd embezzled money or something. Sarah, I'm so sorry. This is completely unfair. Everyone knows you've been the backbone of that company's client relationships. Emma paused. Wait, how did the Summit interview go? Before all this happened? A smile crept across my face. I need to tell you something, but you have to promise not to say anything to anyone yet. Of course, what is it? I already accepted their offer. I signed the contract last night. Dead silence on the other end of the line. Emma? Wait, what? Her voice went up an octave. You already signed? So when Rebecca fired you this morning, I already had a new job lined up, double my salary. She has no idea. Emma burst out laughing, the kind of genuine, delighted laughter that made me start laughing too. Oh my God, Sarah. This is the best thing I've ever heard. Rebecca thought she was destroying your career, and you already had an escape plan. Not exactly an escape plan, I admitted, pulling into my apartment complex. I was going to give proper notice on Friday. Be professional about the whole thing, but Rebecca kind of accelerated the timeline. This is karma at its finest, Emma said. When do you start at Summit? Monday. I was going to use my 2 weeks to transition my clients properly, but I guess that's not happening now. We talked for another 20 minutes, Emma getting increasingly gleeful about the situation while I felt the weight of the morning starting to lift. Yes, getting fired had been humiliating and unfair, but the safety net of that signed offer letter made all the difference. After hanging up with Emma, I made myself lunch and tried to process everything. My email and Slack accounts were already disabled. I'd checked out of morbid curiosity. 5 years of messages, client communications, project files, all suddenly inaccessible. My phone buzzed again. This time, an unknown Chicago number. Sarah Davis? A professional female voice asked when I answered. Speaking. This is Jennifer Walsh from Summit Capital. I just received a very interesting phone call from Rebecca Thompson at Pinnacle Financial. My stomach dropped. Oh? She wanted to inform me, as a professional courtesy, that you'd been terminated from Pinnacle this morning for breach of company loyalty, and that I should reconsider any employment offers extended to you. I closed my eyes, mortification washing over me. Of course, Rebecca would try to sabotage my new position. Jennifer, I can explain. Sarah, please don't worry, Jennifer interrupted, her tone actually amused. Rebecca's call accomplished the exact opposite of what she intended. First, it confirmed something we'd already suspected about Pinnacle's management culture. Second, it made me even more confident about our decision to hire you. Really? Absolutely. In fact, I'd like to move up your start date if possible. Can you begin tomorrow instead of Monday? I think getting you integrated with our team as soon as possible would be beneficial. And frankly, I don't want to give Rebecca any more time to cause problems. I laughed, relief flooding through me. Tomorrow works perfectly. Excellent. Come in at 9 a.m. We'll get your onboarding started and introduce you to your new team. And Sarah, welcome to a company that actually values its employees. Thursday morning, I woke up in my apartment feeling lighter than I had in months. No commute to Pinnacle, no walking on eggshells around Rebecca, no more pretending that empty promises about next quarter were acceptable. I was getting ready for my first day at Summit Capital when my phone rang. Another unknown number, but this one had a familiar area code. Pinnacle's main office line. Curious, I answered. Hello? Ms. Davis, this is Robert Harrison. I'm on the board of directors at Pinnacle Financial Solutions. I froze, coffee mug halfway to my lips. Board members didn't typically involve themselves in employee terminations unless something had gone very wrong. Mr. Harrison, I replied carefully, what can I do for you? I'd like to meet with you this afternoon to discuss yesterday's events. I understand there may have been some miscommunication regarding your departure from Pinnacle. Miscommunication. That was one way to describe being fired and escorted out by security. I'm not sure what there is to discuss, I said. Rebecca was quite clear about her decision. Nevertheless, I believe a conversation would be beneficial for all parties. Would 2 p.m. work for you? We could meet at the Starbucks near our office if you'd prefer neutral territory. The fact that he was suggesting somewhere other than Pinnacle's office told me everything I needed to know. This wasn't a friendly chat. This was damage control. I can meet at 2, I agreed. But I should be transparent. I've already accepted another position. I understand, Robert said. I'd still appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. After hanging up, I immediately called Emma. Board member Robert Harrison just called me, I told her. Wants to meet this afternoon. Oh, wow, Emma said. Tyler told me there were emergency meetings yesterday after you left. Apparently Rebecca's been locked in the conference room with senior leadership all afternoon. Any idea what's going on? Tyler heard something about Midwest manufacturing. Their CFO called asking questions about your termination. My heart skipped. Michael Patterson had reached out? We'd built a strong professional relationship over the past 2 years, but I hadn't expected him to get involved. This is getting interesting, I said. Be careful in that meeting, Emma warned. They're going to try to get you back. Don't let them guilt you into anything. At 1:55 p.m., I walked into the Starbucks and found Robert Harrison already seated at a corner table. He was in his 60s, silver-haired, with the distinguished look of someone who'd spent decades in executive boardrooms. Ms. Davis, thank you for coming, he said, standing to shake my hand. Can I get you anything? I'm fine, thank you. We sat, and Robert wasted no time getting to the point. I've spent the last 24 hours reviewing your personnel file and speaking with various stakeholders. I need to be direct with you. I was not aware of the pattern of denied compensation requests in your file. 3 requests over 2.5 years, I confirmed. All denied despite exceeding performance expectations. Yes, I saw that. Robert's expression was troubled. I also wasn't informed that you'd been terminated until after it happened. Rebecca has considerable autonomy in managing her department, but this particular decision should have been escalated to board review. I see. More importantly, I received a call yesterday afternoon from Michael Patterson at Midwest Manufacturing. He's concerned about the change in his account management. There it was, the real reason for this meeting. Michael and I built a strong working relationship, I said carefully. I'm sure whoever takes over the account will do an excellent job. That's the issue, Miss Davis. Michael doesn't want whoever takes over. He specifically wants you. In fact, he's indicated that Midwest Manufacturing may reconsider their contract with Pinnacle if you're no longer their advisor. The weight of what he was saying settled over the table between us. Midwest Manufacturing was threatening to leave. And it was because of me. Robert leaned forward, his hands folded on the table. Ms. Davis, the board would like to offer you immediate reinstatement. Senior portfolio manager with a compensation package of $78,000, plus the bonuses you should have received over the past 2 years. We're prepared to make this right. I sat back in my chair, letting the offer sink in. 2 days ago, this would have felt like vindication. Everything I'd asked for, finally being offered. But that was before Rebecca had humiliated me, before she'd tried to sabotage my new position, before I'd realized exactly how little Pinnacle actually valued me. That's a generous offer, I said diplomatically. But as I mentioned on the phone, I've already accepted a position elsewhere. With Summit Capital Group, Robert said. It wasn't a question. I nodded, not offering additional details. May I ask what they're offering you? I don't think that's appropriate to discuss. Robert sighed, running a hand through his silver hair. Ms. Davis, Sarah, I understand your hesitation. What happened yesterday was unacceptable. Rebecca acted rashly and without proper authorization. But Pinnacle has invested 5 years in your development. We've built something together. The audacity of that statement almost made me laugh. With respect, Mr. Harrison, Pinnacle invested in me exactly as much as they had to. Every achievement, every certification, every skill I developed, I did that on my own time and my own dime. What Pinnacle did was benefit from my work while repeatedly telling me I wasn't worth investing in. Robert's expression shifted, something like shame crossing his features. You're right. And I take responsibility for not having better oversight of these situations. But we can fix this moving forward. I'm sure you can, I said, standing and extending my hand. And I genuinely hope Pinnacle does better by your future employees. But my decision is final. I start my new position tomorrow morning. He stood as well, shaking my hand with a firm grip. I had to try. For what it's worth, Sarah, you're exactly the kind of talent we should have been fighting to keep. That's on us, not you. As I walked out of that Starbucks, my phone buzzed with a text from Tyler Brooks via Emma. Emergency all-staff meeting just called. Rebecca looks like she's going to be sick. I didn't respond. Whatever was happening at Pinnacle was no longer my concern. My first day at Summit Capital was everything I'd hoped for, and more. Jennifer Walsh introduced me to a team of talented professionals who actually seemed excited to work together. My new office had windows, real windows with a view of Lake Michigan. The technology was current, the culture was collaborative, and when I mentioned an idea during our morning strategy session, people actually listened. "We're really glad you're here, Sarah," Jennifer said, as she walked me to my office. "Your reputation in the industry precedes you." That afternoon, I received a LinkedIn message from Michael Patterson at Midwest Manufacturing. "Heard you've moved to Summit Capital. Congratulations on the new role. Just wanted you to know, we've decided to move our account there too. Looking forward to continuing our work together. P.S. Pinnacle tried very hard to keep us. Rebecca personally called 3 times, but they forgot the most important rule in business. People work with people, not companies." I stared at that message for a long moment, then screenshot it and sent it to Emma with a simple caption: "Karma works fast." 3 weeks later, I heard through industry contacts that Rebecca Thompson had been asked to step down from her position at Pinnacle Financial. The official reason cited was strategic reorganization, but everyone in Chicago's financial circles knew the truth. She'd lost their biggest client because she couldn't recognize value when it was sitting right across from her desk. As for me, I was exactly where I belonged: valued, respected, and finally paid what I was worth. Sometimes the best revenge isn't something you plan or orchestrate. It's simply the natural consequence of knowing your value when others refuse to see it. Rebecca thought she was teaching me a lesson about loyalty that Wednesday morning. Instead, she taught me the most valuable lesson of all. The only person responsible for recognizing your worth is you.